So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our Improve Your Watershed live stream, live cast here with Tennessee Environmental Council. My name is Jeffrey Berry. I am CEO of Tennessee Environmental Council, and we have some great presenters today, Allison Davenport and Jordan Young, who will introduce themselves momentarily. But as you all know, we all live in a watershed. No matter where you live on the planet Earth, you live in a watershed. And the good news is there's something you can do right now from home to help your watershed. And that's the whole point of today's presentation, showing you what you can do at home to improve your watershed or within your community. We will have a question and answer. If you have any questions during the presentation, just go ahead and type it in the Q&A or the chat if it is enabled. But type it in the Q&A, and at the end of the presentation, we'll go through any questions you have for Allison, Jordan, or myself. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Allison.
Awesome. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Jeff, and to the community for joining this live stream on Improve Your Watershed. This live stream is co-hosted by Jordan Young, our statewide field operations manager, and myself, Allison Davenport, the statewide engagement coordinator. A brief history about the Tennessee Environmental Council. We are a 501c nonprofit organization founded in 1970. Our mission is helping people and communities improve our environment, and our vision is thriving habitats, a circular economy, and climate balance in Tennessee. Our programs fall within our vision, such as Recycling Roundup, Tennessee Tree Day, Generate Some Buzz, and the one we're discussing today, Watershed Support Center. Our goal with this program is to promote watershed health through community engagement and to improve water quality of Tennessee's many streams, rivers, and lakes. Our methods to improve watersheds include monitoring water and habitat quality, reducing stream bank erosion, reforesting stream buffers, installing rain gardens, and litter cleanups. And this image on the right is of Jordan and I at a litter cleanup event at Browns Creek. And don't you worry, Jordan did not push me into the creek in the cart. What is a watershed? A watershed is an area of land that drains water, sediment, and dissolved materials to a common outlet. Watersheds are separated by drainage divides and can be any shape and size. There could be different landscapes, ecosystems, development, but are all connected because they share the same water pathways and the same water resources. Tennessee has 55 watersheds and shares 35 watersheds with neighboring states. Majority of Tennessee's watersheds flow directly or indirectly into the Mississippi River. Do you know what watershed you live in? For example, I currently live in the Harpeth River watershed, but I grew up in the Holston River watershed. We all live downstream from someone, and what happens in a watershed simply just doesn't stay in that watershed. We have impact on our neighbors downstream, even though they could be many miles away. Precipitation that does not soak into the ground becomes surface runoff. As stormwater flows across roofs, roads, parking lots, construction sites, and farms, it often picks up pollutants like motor oil, chemical fertilizers, silt, and non-point source contaminants. Because most stormwater is not treated prior to entering streams, it's crucial that we practice methods to help minimize the pollution from entering our waterways. Less green space has a negative impact on our watersheds, such as flooding and pollution that has sedimentation, fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. The pollution brings toxic levels of nitrogen and phosphate towards wildlife. And green space allows more time for the pollutions to filter out before it enters our waterways. This map helps show the abundance of waterways within Tennessee. We have over 60,000 miles of waterways, and more than 75,000 acres of lakes. Currently, the most recent watershed data about the data states shows that more than half of Tennessee rivers, streams, lakes, and wetlands are impaired or in poor biological health. This map shows the abundance of water. And to show a bigger picture, we live within the Mississippi River watershed basin. which is the fourth largest in the world. It drains an area of 1.2 million square miles, including all or parts of 32 states and 2 Canadian provinces, which is about 40% of the continental US. Communities up and down use the water in the Mississippi to obtain fresh water and discharge their industrial and municipal waste. This map helps us understand how we are all connected. Even though it may not seem like it, but the neighbors up in South Dakota have an impact on our neighbors down in Arkansas and Tennessee. And all the water eventually flows into the Gulf of Mexico. An example of what happens if we do not practice methods to improve our watershed is the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which measuring in 6,340 square miles. This occurs during most of the summers off the coast of Louisiana. The dead zone is an area of low oxygen that can kill fish and marine life near the bottom of the sea. Literally the reason of the dead zone. Nothing can live there. Imagine nothing being able to live within more than 4 million acres of potential habitat. The reason for the dead zone is due to excess agricultural pollution, urban runoff, and wastewater that brings excessive amounts of nutrients into waterways that feed the Mississippi River. The nutrient overload fuels large algae blooms and depletes the water of oxygen. This shows the importance of taking steps at home by planting trees and other native plants in your yard and applying slow-release phosphorus-free fertilizers only when needed. This helps reduce erosion and excess runoff from areas around the house. And the rain that we're going to get tonight will eventually end up in the Gulf of Mexico. The importance of the watersheds, such as agriculture. The total farmland in Tennessee is 27 million acres. The water is used to grow fresh produce and sustain livestock, which is a main part of our diet. Water is also used for irrigation, pesticide, and fertilizer applications, and crop cooling and frost control. Agriculture plays a vital role in the economics for Tennessee. The Tennessee agriculture is valued over $1 billion, and Tennessee dairy cattle produce over 909 million pounds of milk a year. And examples of some cash crops in Tennessee are tomatoes, soybeans, corn, cotton, tobacco, and even forestry. And recently we have hemp. I lived and worked on a hemp farm for a year in 2020. And let me just tell you, it's pretty intensive to run a farm. So shout out to all the farmers within Tennessee. And recreation. I don't know about you, but I love spending time outdoors and exploring the wonders of Tennessee. Being born and raised in Tennessee has allowed me to explore the Great Smoky Mountains, to floating down the rivers and lakes in Middle Tennessee, and even diving for mussels in West Tennessee along the Tennessee River. The picture on the left is at a recent events that I hosted at Couchville Lake in Long Hunter State Park. There were our natural well-being events. And just being on the water just shows the importance of quality time you can have with your friends and family, and even make new friends who enjoy spending time in nature. And the picture on the right, I'm sorry that's blurry, it's a picture of my father water tubing at Lake Fontana in the Great Smoky Mountains. As you could tell, I love the water. The water recreations activities are not only fun, but our local community benefits economically. Tennessee benefits from tourism, entertainment opportunities for residents and visitors, and sales at local businesses and restaurants. I don't know about you, but enjoying a beer after spending the day on the water is refreshing and amazing. And Tennessee recreational boating industry has an annual impact of more than $3 billion, supporting over 15,000 jobs. And if you haven't already, you should definitely try out whitewater rafting at the Ocoee River, or paddling on the lake at the sunset. The water has brought me many opportunities for me and my family, and creating great memories, from kayaking down the Stones River, tubing at Lake Fontana in the Smoky Mountains, and jumping off the cliffs at Percy Priest Lake. Yes, I'm ready for summer. Let's get out on the lake. And another reason to have a healthy watershed is essential for our health because our body is made up of 70% of water. Therefore, water is vital for our health. Depending on where you live in Tennessee, your drinking water may come from two sources: groundwater located below the surface of the earth in spaces between rock and the soil, or surface water, which is typically from streams, rivers, or lakes. Surface water is generally more polluted than groundwater, since groundwater is located below the surface of the earth in spaces between rocks and soil. It's generally harder to clean though. Unfortunately, you cannot go out and drink straight from the rivers and lakes and streams of Tennessee. I would not try that unless you would like to get E. coli. There is an intensive treatment process before we are able to drink water or use it for utility purpose such as showers, washing clothes, and cleaning our dishes. Surface water typically requires more treatment and filtration than groundwater because lakes and rivers and streams contain more sediment, germs, chemicals, and toxins than groundwater. The diagram on the right shows you the intensive process it takes before you are able to drink water from your faucet. Ooh, and then diversity in Tennessee. If you ever go exploring along Tennessee, you probably have noticed the diverse range of species that you see. Tennessee is home to a diverse range. However, Tennessee is rapidly developing and destroying habitats for our species. The current population of Tennessee has reached over 7 million people. And some of the species are 89 species of mammals, 365 species of fish, over 340 species of birds that migrate in and out throughout Tennessee, 70 species of amphibians, and 61 species of reptiles. I'm pretty sure snakes are probably everyone's favorite animal in Tennessee. And there are a lot of invertebrate species within Tennessee. Over 120 species of mussels, 99 species of aquatic snails, 77 species of crayfish, and a multitude of insects, and 256 species of land snails, and over 2,000 varieties of plants. And the fun fact about mussels can filter up to 15 gallons of water a day. So it's essential for us to protect our waterways, not for us, but also for the diverse range of species that live within this watershed. And now I will turn it over to Jordan, who will tell you more about our approach to improving Tennessee's watersheds.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Allison, for getting us started. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Jordan Young, and in addition to managing the field operations, I manage the Watershed Support Program for the Tennessee Environmental Council. With this program, it's our goal to promote watershed health through Tennessee's it's our goal to promote health through community engagement and improve the water quality of Tennessee's many streams, rivers, lakes, and wetlands. Our priorities include monitoring water and habitat quality, curtailing stream bank erosion, reforesting stream buffers with native vegetation, and increasing infiltration. Each one of these priorities can directly affect the quality of water within a watershed. The methods we use are environmentally sustainable and minimally invasive. Next slide, please, Allison. So how do we do this? Well, first, we identify a problem area by evaluating the list of impaired and threatened waters established by the Environmental Protection Agency. Next slide, please. We then partner with local organizations in the community to help us achieve our ultimate goal of getting the stream removed from the impaired list. By involving members of the community, we increase our chances of success by bringing awareness and opportunity to fix a problem in their own backyard. Just like Allison said earlier, we all live in a watershed and we all make an impact, good or bad. Next slide, please. So let's first talk about stream erosion and how it can negatively impact our waterways. In Tennessee, the #1 pollutant affecting our streams and rivers is sediment. Well, why is that? Simply put, the majority of sediment pollution, or dirt as it's better known, is caused by urban sprawl. Urban sprawl creates opportunities for sediments to be released into our streams and rivers, which in turn chokes out many aquatic species. Not only does sediment negatively impact biodiversity, but it also makes it harder for water treatment facilities to treat the water, a cost they pass on to you. As Allison mentioned, a lot of our water comes from surface sources, such as rivers and streams. Urban sprawl replaces green, porous surfaces with hard, impervious surfaces like asphalt, cement, and rooftops that drive stormwater runoff into our streams, causing creek banks to wash out at a higher rate. Next slide, please. So how do we treat eroding stream banks? One way we reduce erosion is by anchoring natural biodegradable logs made up of cedar branches and coconut fiber to the bank. These logs protect stream banks from further washout and also help trap sediment as it flows downstream. Next slide. Here you can see the before and after of this highly eroded bank on Grassy Branch Creek. In extreme cases such as this, the bank is sloped after logs have been placed. The slope is then revegetated with native plants to help the freshly disturbed soil stay in place. The key to successfully stabilizing an eroding bank is to establish native vegetation. As you can see here, the bank is now protected from rain and floodwaters by a vegetative cover, effectively reducing further erosion. Next slide. Also, enhancing and expanding the vegetative barrier of a creek is vital to water quality. A vegetative barrier, also known as a riparian buffer, should be composed of native plants and include canopy, understory, and herbaceous vegetation. A native vegetative buffer will hold soil in place, reduce flood velocity downstream, provide shade, and create habitat for native wildlife. Next slide, please. This slide shows just how much the buffer zone along Grassy Branch has changed since we began working at this location. Over the years, this vegetative buffer zone has successfully reduced bank erosion because of the vast network of roots holding the soil in place, even as the subdivision has expanded. An added benefit to planting trees that often gets overlooked is that it increases property value. Studies have shown that homes with well-established vegetation are valued higher than those without. Next slide, please. Promoting infiltration of stormwater is another valuable key to improving water quality. One way we do this is by installing rain gardens. Rain gardens are gardens composed of water-loving plants placed in a natural low-lying area. These gardens collect stormwater runoff and help it to infiltrate into the soil before it reaches the creek. As a result, less water enters the stream, and pollutants like herbicides from yards and gas and oil from driveways are filtered out by the plant roots. A bonus effect of rain gardens, composed of all native plants, is that they attract native pollinators. As you may know, pollinators such as solitary bees, butterflies, and other insects have been on the decline due to habitat loss and agricultural practices. Rain gardens are easy to install, have multiple environmental benefits, and can be an aesthetically pleasing addition to any yard. Next slide, please. Here we have a rain garden within the Wingate Estates subdivision. TEC staff and volunteers installed this rain garden in a matter of just a few hours. Now we have a beautiful native garden that supports pollinators and helps filter pollutants from neighboring houses that would otherwise end up in Grassy Branch Creek. Next slide, please. So the big question is, does any of this really help? These efforts seem nice, but can they realistically lead to the delisting of an impaired stream? And that's a fair question. Let me share you this story with you. In 2002, McCutcheon Creek was put on the impaired stream list due to sedimentation. In 2003, the Tennessee Scenic Rivers Association, with support from other organizations, began implementing these strategies to control and eliminate sediment pollution in McCutcheon Creek. In 2006, TEC joined those efforts, implementing best management practices on McCutcheon Creek and its tributaries. To date, TEC and project partners have reforested 11,081 feet of stream sides, planted thousands of trees in the watershed, repaired almost 2,000 feet of eroding stream banks, installed rain gardens, and installed 900 feet of livestock exclusion fencing and associated livestock watering systems. So as a result, in 2019, TDEC sampled McCutcheon Creek again, and the result indicated that the aquatic insect and habitat scores had increased significantly. Thanks to the BMPs implemented there, McCutcheon Creek was now fully supporting its designated uses, and in 2022, McCutcheon Creek was removed from the polluted streams list. Next slide, please. So there it is, proof that our approach of using environmentally sustainable methods to improve and enhance water quality within a watershed works. So now if you're like me and you're inspired and all geared up to take part in improving your watershed, here are some things you can do at home. First off, properly disposing of lawn clippings can help improve water quality. Too often people will use a leaf blower to blow the first few passes of their yard clippings into the street and down storm drains. These clippings are not only clog storm drains and lead to ponding water in the streets, but they also carry nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus to the creek. Instead, you can simply return clippings to your yard. Nutrients from the clippings will feed microbes in the soil instead of polluting our waterways. Also, in relation to mowing your yard, try to avoid using toxic herbicides and pesticides and instead opt for all natural herbicides. There are a wide variety of products on the market today that are better for the environment and better for you and your family. Properly disposing of your medications can also benefit water quality. Wastewater treatment facilities are not equipped to handle medications, so if you flush your expired medicine down the toilet, you can inadvertently affect the biodiversity of a stream and threaten the quality of our drinking water. Instead, you can simply drop off your expired or unused medications at participating law enforcement offices or pharmacies. Next slide, please. Also, how about converting a section of your lawn to a native habitat? We've discussed the benefits of a rain and pollinator garden, but it's worth mentioning again. Not only do they look great, native garden habitats attract pollinators and filter stormwater runoff. Next slide. This is for all you property owners who have a creek running through your yard. Consider establishing a vegetative buffer with native plants. Even a 10-foot narrow buffer of native vegetation can help stabilize stream banks, filter pollutants, provide shade, and reduce flooding. If you can make the buffer as wide as possible, the National Resource Conservation Service suggests a 100-foot buffer, but that isn't always practical. So just do what you can. Every little bit helps. Next slide. And of course, you can always volunteer with us. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities this year, including tree planting, bank stabilization, and creek cleanups. Next slide. Recently, TEC hosted 5 creek cleanup events with volunteers where we removed over 3,000 pounds of trash from creeks in Davidson County. We will be hosting 20 more cleanup events between now and December. So come out and help us clean up some streams. Next slide. And also as a reminder, be sure to register to receive trees for Tennessee Tree Day. This year, Tennessee Tree Day is on March 18th. You can register for trees at tectn.org/Tennessee Tree Day. For all upcoming volunteer opportunities, you can visit our website at tectn.org/get-involved. And next slide. That concludes our presentation. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we can field any questions you may have.
Hey, excellent presentation, Allison. Excellent work, Jordan. I love that you not only have good information about our watersheds and how we impact them, but you have also thousands of hours of experience in those watersheds, in the streams, cleaning them up and installing those improvement practices. So kudos to you for the good work you've done over the years involved with Tennessee Environmental Council and even beyond that. We do have some questions. And I had one question for you all. Let's see, we have, what do you like about being out there? Because for those of you who don't know, Jordan and Allison are out there in the creeks, working with volunteers, planting trees, installing live stakes and those coir logs, many days throughout the year, even when it's cold or raining, and they're doing the good work. But I'd like to hear from each of you, what do you enjoy most about being out there doing this work? Allison, you want to go first, or Jordan? Whoever you feel like being on the spot, you know?
Go ahead, Allison.
I love how you told me to go ahead.
Yeah.
What I love most about being out there is I'm physically changing and improving the environment. I know that what I'm doing is having a positive effect on the environment. And I also love engaging and educating the community on the importance of why we need to make a watershed healthy and why it's important to us.
Cool. And it shows
Right.
in your work. Yeah. Jordan?
Yeah, I would say the thing that I enjoy most is engaging with the community. I'm a lifelong environmentalist. I love hiking, camping, biking, kayaking, all that kind of stuff. So it always makes me feel good when like-minded people come out and work with us to ensure that we have those awesome recreational opportunities in the future, and that our kids can share those as well.
It's awesome. And I love the demonstration of McCutcheon Creek, seeing that, in fact, the work that you all have been doing, and of course, a lot of that work predated you, but you're doing it today in Grassy Branch, but that work resulted in a creek improving scientifically in ecological health. And so it was able to be taken off that list of polluted creeks and is now a success story. So keep up that great work.
Thanks.
And it's a
Yeah,
pleasure to work
I
with
think
you.
a lot of times our techniques seem so simple that people kind of wonder if they would actually have a real impact, and if we're actually going to be able to delist these streams. So McCutcheon Creek is a great example of, yeah, these methods actually do work, and they pay off in the long run.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. And maybe we have many more of those success stories with people that are tuned in today, coming out and helping out and getting involved. Hey, we had a good question from Ursula King I want to ask you all, and I'm going to start with Jordan on this one. The question is, do you work with, Ursula said that, yeah, she understands agriculture consumes a lot of acres in Tennessee in farmland for crops and livestock, like you said, Allison. How do we work with agriculture and farms regarding the huge impact on water quality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we do work with farmers and ranchers on an individual basis, trying to set up some of that livestock exclusion fencing, trying to establish those vegetative buffers between the creek and their farmland to help kind of filter out some of those herbicides and pesticides that the agricultural industry is known to use. I think so we work with them on kind of a one-on-one basis. I think a lot of big changes are going to happen if we get some like legislation passed to kind of limit the types of herbicides and pesticides that we use and how much of those we use.
Allison, do you want to add anything to that?
I think Jordan covered it pretty well on what we could do.
Yeah, thank you, Allison. Thank you, Jordan. I know there's a lot more that can be. So what we do is on a micro level. So we're actually in the creek, putting solutions in that prevent that pollution from livestock and agricultural runoff from getting into the creek. And then we do knock on the doors of those landowners and say, hey, can we work in your at the edge of your property here where it hits the creek, and can we install these solutions? So we work with them directly in that way. But I do acknowledge, Ursula, because that there are bigger picture things we could be working on too, to where we maybe can modify some agricultural practices in the bigger picture. And that'd be something we'd love to talk with you about, in how can we start to introduce some of those solutions into the state legislature, for example, or through the agricultural community as a whole. And by the way, we will let you know, a lot of farms and farmers do participate in Tennessee Tree Days. So planting trees along the creek bank is one of the best things you can do to start moving in the right direction. But we'd love to talk to you more about that one-on-one, Ursula, about some of the bigger picture solutions we could be implementing.
Right. And I think a big part of
so Monica,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think a big part of that solution is education. Educating the farmers and the public on why, that's so important.
Absolutely. And we do some of that through our messaging and educational efforts as well. Now, of course, we advocate first and foremost, wherever you live, there's something you can do to change your land use practice. So taking a portion of your lawn, not the whole thing, because I love part of my lawn too, but I put the pollinator habitat out there. And if I had space, I'd put a rain garden as well. So those are things that anybody that has property can do anywhere in Tennessee and actually improve the situation, because a lot of that pollution, as Jordan mentioned, comes from urban runoff, not just agriculture, but the cities. And so it's something that, and there's something we can all do to help that. Monica Pretz, Dr. Pretz asked a question. If you have a creek that goes through your yard or you're near it that has no vegetation, what do you suggest as a first step to take? And who do you contact for guidance and help? So what's the first step for anybody to take, Jordan or Allison?
Yeah, that's also a good question. So I think the first steps you should take is look at your land. If you don't have any vegetation near your creek and you want to establish some, there's some really good information out there that can give you examples and tell you how to what type of plants to use and how to establish these riparian buffers. You are always welcome to contact us at the Tennessee Environmental Council. We would love to talk to you more about that. The Tennessee Department of Forestry actually has a really good urban riparian buffer hand guide. It's a handbook. It is very comprehensive. It has all lists of native trees for your region of Tennessee, canopy, understory, and herbaceous species. It actually helps you develop a planting plan. So I think that's where I would start.
And yeah, and feel free to reach out to Jordan or Allison if you want more personalized sort of feedback on what you can do, because we often do go out and look at properties that people say, hey, I have this problem. I had a lot of erosion in my creek and I want to do something about it. So we have gone out and sort of consulted one-on-one with individual property owners on those. So if you do have more questions about your property, just reach out to Jordan or Allison and we will do our best to help you. Also, we do have on our website, you can search around for it. It's called the Citizen Action Guide. And it is a resource for anybody in Tennessee to find out how to begin addressing the problems in the creeks in our neighborhoods and in our backyards. So those are the two resources for you as well. And scrolling through, we have a lot of questions coming through, so I will keep on going through some of these. Okay, Cynthia has a question. Her name is Cynthia Bailey. Are there better options for keeping a clean pond other than herbicides and algicides? Because this person's pond runs into a creek. Now that's a new one because I don't know, we've not done work directly with ponds, but do you have any info on that, Jordan or Allison?
My question would be, is there vegetation along the pond? Because if there's vegetation along the pond, that will help filter out pollutants from reaching the stream downstream. And planting vegetation is the most holistic approach to helping improve the water quality from home. Like I said, more green space is better than less green space. I know people love manicure lawns, but manicure lawns are basically ecological desert for the environment. So the best approach I could say is add plants.
Yeah, I know. I do believe there are certain even waterborne plants like lilies of certain types that actually clean up the water. Mm-hmm. So that is a science in and of itself. We realize that taking care of a pond or a frog pond or a fish pond or bigger, that is a whole endeavor and undertaking in and of itself. And we don't have a whole lot of that experience, but I think those are great suggestions that Allison offered as well. Let's see, going through the questions here, we do have some. How can schools and students get involved? I guess in our work as well as just out there, let's say anywhere in Tennessee. Jordan, you want to tackle that?
Yeah, so sorry, I was on mute. Schools and students can get involved in a lot of our volunteer activities. So a lot of our volunteer opportunities like tree planting, installing rain gardens, pollinator gardens, even some of the bank stabilization are great opportunities for students and just other kids in general to come out with us and learn about the environment, learn about what the importance of, all of these things working together can do. Why you would want to plant a rain garden, things like that. So I think if that's what you're looking for in regards to an answer, that's how they can get involved. We also have internship opportunities, both for high school and college students.
Yeah. And if anyone has a school group that wants to come volunteer, certainly reach out to Jordan or Allison. And by the way, I don't know if you have a slide that has your contact info on there, Jordan or Allison, email address. If you don't, I'll be happy to shout it out. But you can visit our website and find us that way, or our email addresses are all our first name followed by @tectn.org, which stands for Tennessee Environmental Council, tn.org. But it's Jordan or Allison @tectn.org. If you want to ask any questions of them directly at any time.
Yeah, so absolutely. Reach out. I look forward to hearing from you.
And Andrea Ludwig has a really good question about how urbanization is a big problem causing that siltation, as you mentioned in your presentation, that as we continue to build more houses and streets and infrastructure, that means more water is going to run off the rooftops and off the streets into the streams faster than ever before, which is one reason we have more flooding in Tennessee than we ever had before. But the question is, how do we work with housing developments and HOAs? And I know you have a lot of experience, Jordan, working with, we do have a lot of experience working with some HOAs. So how do you want to answer that question, Allison or Jordan?
I mean, I would just say, like, the way that we work with some of those HOAs is simply contacting them. We've had great luck that way. We're working with Wingate Estates Homeowners Association in Spring Hill right now to work on Grassy Branch Creek. They've been amazing. You'd be kind of surprised how accepting some of these organizations are whenever you talk about, hey, we want to plant trees, we want to install rain gardens, anything to make their land look better, and to increase the infiltration of the stormwater runoff so they don't have a lot of flooding on their properties. They're generally very accepting. We're also working with Brixworth in Spring Hill. It's another HOA development. We're working with Woodmont HOA in Smyrna to plant some trees there. So, if, just reaching out to them, talking to them, they have a lot of land. Some of these developments have over 100 houses on them. So there's a lot of opportunity there to plant trees and to do that. And a good selling point with that is you got to talk to them. How does this benefit them? And, the more trees you plant, the more gardens you put in, that's less maintenance in regards to lawn mowing and things like that they're going to have to do. So that's an added savings to them. I think that's a very good way of reaching, or, kind of getting them on board with you, is trying to skew this in a way where they see the benefits to them and not just the benefits to the environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the HOAs you mentioned, Jordan, that we work with in Grassy Branch or Spring Hill, for example, they know that if that the storm runoff sort of catchment basins and such, if they get clogged with branches or litter or debris, and if the streams aren't flowing well, which is part of the work that we do, is help the stream flow better, not faster, but just more healthy, I guess, healthy stream flow. But because we're out there, we're able to catch problems and prevent flooding, perhaps, because if a storm drain gets clogged up with branches or litter, then there's very likely going to be flooding in that housing development near the creek. So just the fact that we're out there helps to address a lot of those issues. So that's why one reason why HOAs are very happy to work with us in what we're doing down there. And of course, a lot of those houses have kids that go out and play in the stream. So the cleaner the stream is, the healthier your children are going to be. That's another reason why we are able to work with HOAs. Now, Ursula King had a good comment about how important it is. We talked a lot about the herbicides that are and pesticides that are sprayed on yards and lawns and in agriculture, but there's also fertilizers which people use on lawns and in agriculture that are the one of the biggest offenders for the pollution, the nitrogen, the nutrient overloading in the Mississippi River and all of our streams that ends up causing that dead zone in the Mississippi River. So good information. Everything we do in our yards and on our farms has an effect downstream. So we want to be as responsible as we can. And it's not just about changing our behaviors, but it's not just stopping doing the bad things, if you will, but we can do things that actually improve over time the creeks. So once Catherine Kilbrew has a question, are willow cuts invasive to use on the edge of the bank for restoration? Or what are the most beneficial sort of live stakes or cuttings to put in your creek bank?
Oh, that's a good question. And we do a lot of this. We use live stakes quite a bit to revegetate stream banks that are eroding. When you say willow cuts, there are some, I wouldn't say invasive, but there may be some non-native willow cuts, more ornamental willows. A good willow to use is black willow, does really well in stream banks. So you can harvest black willow. You can also check out some of the nurseries here in Tennessee actually will cut and sell live stakes for you. There's black willow does really well. Silky dogwood is another one that does well in stream banks. Elderberry and buttonbush are also very good.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. We had a comment come in about the importance of using what's called pervious pavement. So if you're repaving a driveway or even paving a driveway or a parking lot, there are all kinds, or a street, there are all kinds of pavement choices now that allow water to percolate in through the pavement, and it's still effective for driving on, of course. That will prevent that from running off, but will recharge our groundwater and prevent flooding and have all the benefits that we're looking for anyway. So pervious pavement is a solution to look for when repaving or installing anything, parking lot, for example.
Right.
And there are lots of other solutions like that. That's why the more you dig into this, you'll find out there are all kinds of solutions that make your property healthier and have higher value and have less impact, and in fact help the streams downstream and help the watershed instead of harming it. So we encourage you all to dig in and look for the solutions that work for you and just get started. And we know this person, Cynthia Hernandez, has a good question here. We can help, we can help the Environment and Public Works departments if we clear storm drains and debris. So that's a good comment from Cynthia out there.
Absolutely. And actually, we're working on a little bit of that right now in our creek cleanup events. With our creek cleanup events, we will unclog any culverts or storm drains out there that we see.
I agree with Ursula, who just said, this is a great webinar. Excellent. So thank you, Ursula.
Thank you.
Well, I will say it's only great because Jordan and Allison are out there doing this. They're not just talking about it. They're doing this every day. Not every day, technically speaking, but almost every day of the year. They're out there in the creek doing litter cleanups, installing the solutions in the creeks and working with the landowners next to the creek to make sure that our creeks are getting better over time and not worse. But so thank you thank you, Allison and Jordan, for demonstrating what works and helping others to see that. And making success stories in Tennessee. But a reminder for everyone just watching and tuning in that this is something you don't have to wait for us to do it or come out to one of our events. We want you to come out and volunteer with Jordan and Allison at all of our events coming up, but to do it at home. Figure out what you can do on your own property, at your farm or in your community to make the difference we're talking about here, because it all makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. But please feel free to come out, volunteer, and talk to me about what you can do with at your property. So
Yeah, so visit our website. There's a tab at the top called Get Involved. Just click on that, and it'll open up the opportunities that you can see coming up in the near future, and you can sign up to volunteer at a creek cleanup, a litter cleanup event, or at one of the stream bank restoration projects that Jordan and Allison are working on.
absolutely. And just a little plug, we have
And
a live stake planting event this Friday, so you can still register for that. It is in Spring Hill, Tennessee. So if you want to learn about live stakes and actually plant some in the creek with us, please go to our website and sign up for that.
And we're looking at how we can get more events across the state. So no matter where you live, we can be working in your community if we know it's important to you. If you have an issue or concern in your backyard or in your neighborhood, or as you're driving to or from work, let us know, and we'll see if there's something we can do to help you in your community. But we have a whole series of litter cleanup events in Nashville and the Davidson County area. We got a lot of work in Murfreesboro, Lytle Creek, Spring Hill, Grassy Branch, and other areas. So please do reach out and let us know how we can help you and how we can work together. Suzanne Schown we'll get to a couple more questions here before we sign off. But Suzanne has a question. Do you work with the city urban areas on some of your events? Like city agencies, basically, are they open to suggestions for public properties? What experience do you have with public properties, not just the private landowners?
Well, Jeff, you may even be able to answer this a little bit. We are working with the Tennessee Valley Authority establishing pollinator habitats.
Yes, and we have worked with, let's say, for example, I think Columbia Park and Rec in Maury County had worked with us. We worked with them, or they reached out to us, and we did a volunteer event planting trees along a creek that in one of their parks. So there are plenty of ways to work with city agencies, park and rec departments, or stormwater agencies to implement these solutions. There are people all across the state that care about this and that have access to those public spaces that we can be working with, and we do as an organization work with them. But I would encourage you to reach out to your county stormwater agency to find out what is being done to improve the creeks or streams or rivers in your neighborhood or your county. But Jordan or Allison, do you all know about 5 Mile Creek? David White wants to know if we've ever been out there. 5 Mile Creek.
I've not been to 5 Mile Creek. We've been to 7 Mile Creek.
Yes, I haven't been to 5 Mile. Where is the location of 5 Mile Creek? And we'll be happy to take a look at it.
Let me see if I can type that question directly to Dave. Yeah. Good question, David. Did you see something in 5 Mile Creek that was a concern? But yeah, we often go out and do site assessments. Allison and Jordan will go out and look at a creek or throughout its entire sort of length through a neighborhood to see if there's a problem or if we need to get out there and do some work. And by the way, our work a lot of our work, as Jordan showed, is funded by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, which has a program called the 319 Non-Point Source Pollution Program. And they offer grants. Anybody in a community that has a nonprofit organization or a watershed association can actually apply for the grant to do an extensive scope of work in your community, in the creeks and streams. So That those funds are available every year, available to the public to apply and implement some solutions. Thank you, Monica. Great comments.
And to just continue with the public public parks and everything, we do host a lot of litter cleanups at public parks especially within the Davidson County area. And we have worked with the Stormwater Association in Murfreesboro. They've helped us tell us where to plant rain gardens, such as Cannonboro Village, downtown Murfreesboro, which helps Lido Creek. And we also we planted trees at Manchester Park along the Little Duck River. So we do enjoy working with the local government because that's their local area too. And we love having an impact with them and making that connection.
Thank you, Allison. And I love your enthusiasm for this work, Allison, and that makes it all the more successful and effective. And David White has an answer on the 5 Mile Creek. It's in Franklin, and apparently his children love to play in the creek. It drains into the heart, but he just wants to make sure it's in good health and that his kids are safe. And that's why we do this work, David. Who doesn't like wading in the creek? My daughters do that in our local creek as well. And I don't know if you guys want to do any on-the-fly research to find out if that's on the 303D list or not, but
Yeah, I was just doing that, and off the top of my head, and just a short research here, I'm not seeing it. Doesn't mean it's not on the 303D list, but you can also access water quality reports for many of the creeks. So if you can just do like a quick Google search for 5 Mile Creek, Tennessee water quality, you should be able to get a water quality report for that creek.
yeah, and thank you for the questions and comments, David. And Bryn Beauchamp, who was an intern for almost a year and is now working for Tennessee Environmental Council. Thank you, Bryn, for reminding us to announce that we are holding litter cleanups at public parks as well. So if you want to get involved in the litter cleanups specifically, Allison is the one to talk to, and you'll probably work with Bryn or Allison on that. And we can organize a litter cleanup anywhere in Tennessee. We'd be happy to work with you on that. We're always looking at ways we can expand our reach and do this work in more areas of the state because we need it everywhere. And so we're always looking at ways to do that. So we'd love to talk to you about that as well.
And if you see someone littering, a good company or organization to reach out is Nobody Trashes Tennessee. If you tell them where the location is, and who all did it, they will send Nobody Trashes Tennessee gear to those people that have trashed Tennessee.
And we are organizing a county-wide cleanup event, litter cleanup event in September this year. So more to come on that. If you want to get involved in that, we are forming a steering committee to make sure that's a successful event. But Allison would be the person to reach out to on that. It's Allison at tectn.org. But you can also always reach out to us on our website. I'm looking through to see, I know there's lots of good questions that once we get this ball rolling, we've opened up the can of worms here. A lot of good questions. Do we have any experience, Allison or Jordan, regarding cattails in ponds? How do we get rid of them, I guess? I know cattails are very beneficial, first of all, for the ecosystem as well as for the water. But if you don't want cattails in your pond, I'm not sure how to. Do you have any suggestions there?
Right, I don't. I'm actually not too familiar with maintaining a pond. I wish I could point you in the right direction there.
Ursula, reach out to me. Let's have a meetup, either virtually or one-on-one in person, to talk about some of these legislative opportunities. Apparently there's actually, that's an important thing to mention, the Clean Act. And Ursula mentioned another bill in the state legislature this session. I know the Clean Act is designed to address the litter problem across our state. So if you all want to get involved and help pass some good legislation, that's an important one to take a look at. It was introduced, or the organization behind that is the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. And we are certainly, as an organization, supporting that, and we'll be getting the word out about how to support that legislation this session, which will be coming up for vote in the next few weeks. Hey, Monica had another good question, then we'll sign off. We'll take this last question about how do you compare different fertilizers or pesticides and their negative effects? Are there better, what are better solutions? How do you find the better solutions to address fertilizing and I guess using certain or healthier pesticides for your yard?
So I think the more natural remedies are probably the best. We use a vinegar or salt soap mixture as an herbicide that seems to work pretty well. We like to stay away from Roundup and a lot of these harmful chemicals like that. Jeff, do you know? I don't really know how to differentiate between them other than just doing some research, reading the label, finding out their side effects and things like that.
And I can tell you the healthiest way to fertilize your lawn is to start composting your food waste in your backyard, and then you can take that material from the composted food waste. It's rich in nutrients, and you can spread that on your yard, in your lawn or garden or gardens to add nutrients to your lawn that are not chemical based. They're just basically food waste. So that's just one small solution, but there are many, many alternatives that will help prevent weeds and help feed your grass that are not going to cause negative consequences to the environment. But we're going to go ahead and close it out, close out our live stream webinar. And just thank you again for showing up and being here and being concerned and caring about your environment. And we are here to help you through the process of improving our environment and communities. So feel free to reach out anytime with more questions or other topics you want to explore. And just make sure you visit our website and get involved in the projects we have up there now. And we look forward to seeing you in the field and hearing about your success stories as we go through this journey of caring for our environment together. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining the live stream. And I hope everyone learned something new.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Thank you, Allison, and thank you, everybody.